Don't forget to like the video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to stay updated with our latest stories. The call from the school came on a Tuesday, I remember, because I was just about to take my lemon drizzle cake out of the oven. Leo, my grandson, he's 8, and he's been living with me for 3 years now. His mom, my daughter Sarah, well, that's a story for another time. But let's just say Leo needed a steady hand, and mine was the only one available. Most days it's a joy, a real second chance at having a little one around, but Lord, some days it tests every last nerve. So when the school number flashed up, my heart did that little jump it always does. You know the one. Is he sick? Did he fall in the playground? Or, heaven forbid, is it about that asterisk subject again? Leo's a bright boy, quick as a whip, but focusing in class, especially on things that don't catch his fancy like dinosaurs or sketching. Well, that's another matter. It was Mrs. Gable, the school secretary, polite as ever. Mrs. Davison, she chirped. Mr. Evans, Leo's teacher, was hoping to schedule a home visit. Would you be available sometime next week? A home visit? My mind raced. In my day, a teacher coming to your house meant one of two things. Either you were a prize student destined for greatness, or you were in a heap of trouble. Given Leo's occasional daydreaming reports, I had a sinking feeling it wasn't the former. I tried to keep my voice light. Oh, is everything all right, Mrs. Gable? There was a slight pause. Mr. Evans just feels it would be beneficial to discuss Leo's progress in a more relaxed setting. He mentioned Leo has such a vibrant imagination. Vibrant imagination. That was teacher speak for doesn't always pay attention to the lesson plan, wasn't it? We settled on Thursday afternoon, 3 o'clock. That gave me 2 days to fret and clean. Not that my house is messy, mind you. I like things neat and tidy, a place for everything and everything in its place. It's a small bungalow, just enough for me and Leo, cozy, with a little garden out back I'm quite proud of. But having a teacher come, it felt like an inspection. I found myself looking at everything through critical eyes. Were the bookshelves too dusty? Did the sofa cushions look plump enough? Were Leo's drawings, blue tacked proudly to the fridge, a sign of a budding artist or just clutter? I even considered baking something special, then wondered if that would look like I was trying too hard. In the end, I decided on some simple shortbread biscuits. Can't go wrong with shortbread. Leo, when I told him Mr. Evans was coming, was surprisingly unfazed. Mr. Evans is cool, he announced, busy with a complex Lego spaceship. He lets us read comics in silent reading time if we finish our work. Well, that was a relief, I suppose. At least he liked the man. I'd only seen Mr. Evans briefly at the last parent-teacher evening. A younger man, maybe in his late 30s, with a kind smile and earnest eyes. He seemed genuinely enthusiastic about teaching, which was a good sign. But still, a home visit. It felt so official, so personal. Thursday arrived with a gray sky that threatened rain, mirroring my own slightly gloomy apprehension. I tidied to within an inch of my life. The scent of lemon polish mingled with the faint, sweet smell of the shortbread cooling on the rack. I changed my blouse twice. Silly, I know. I'm a grown woman, for goodness sake. 58 years old, and I was fussing like a schoolgirl. At 2:55, I was peeking through the net curtains for the 10th time. Leo was in his room, probably engrossed in some adventure, blissfully unaware of my jitters. At precisely 3 o'clock, a sensible, dark blue car pulled up to the curb. My heart gave a little thump. He was here. I opened the door just as he was stepping onto the path. Mr. Evans was taller than I remembered, with a friendly, open face. He wore a simple collared shirt and dark trousers, nothing too formal, which helped ease my nerves a fraction. He was carrying a soft leather satchel. "Mrs. Davison, thanks so much for having me," he said, his voice warm, a little deeper than I'd recalled. He had a nice smile, crinkles at the corners of his eyes. "Please call me Carol," I said, stepping back to let him in. "And thank you for coming. Can I get you a cup of tea? Or coffee?" The living room, with its freshly plumped cushions and strategically placed coasters, suddenly felt very small. He glanced around, a polite, almost appreciative look. "Tea would be lovely, thank you, Carol. Black, 2 sugars, if you have it." As I headed to the kitchen, my hands felt a bit shaky. What on earth were we going to talk about for, an hour? My grandson's teacher was in my living room, and for the life of me, I couldn't shake the feeling that this visit was about more than just Leo's vibrant imagination. When I returned with the tea tray, mugs, milk, sugar bowl, and my plate of shortbread arranged just so, Mr. Evans was looking at the collection of photographs on the mantelpiece. There was one of Leo as a chubby baby, one of my late husband, Michael, and a more recent one of Leo and me at the seaside, squinting into the sun. He turned as I set the tray down on the coffee table. "You have a lovely home, Carol," he said, and it sounded genuine, not just a polite phrase. "It feels very welcoming." I poured the tea, trying to keep my hand steady. "Thank you, Mr. Evans." "Please call me Daniel," he offered, taking the mug. "Mr. Evans makes me feel like I should be grading papers." I smiled at that, a genuine smile this time. "All right, Daniel it is." He took a sip of tea. "This is excellent tea. And these biscuits look homemade." "They are," I admitted. "A little weakness of mine, baking." He picked one up. "My grandmother used to make shortbread. Hers were never quite this perfect, though." We sat for a moment in a comfortable sort of quiet, him enjoying the biscuit, me sipping my tea and trying to read his expression. He didn't seem like someone about to deliver bad news. His eyes, when they met mine, were kind. So, I began, deciding to just get to it. "Leo, is he all right, Daniel?" "His imagination is, well, it's certainly active." Daniel chuckled, a pleasant sound. "It is indeed. And that's a wonderful thing, Carol, truly. Leo was a very bright, very creative boy. He's a pleasure to have in class." This wasn't what I was expecting. I'd braced myself for a list of concerns. "He is?" I asked, a little surprised. "Oh, absolutely," Daniel said, leaning forward slightly, his expression earnest. "He has a unique way of looking at the world. The stories he comes up with, the drawings he makes, they're quite something." He paused, then his smile softened a little. "But he does sometimes find it hard to, shall we say, tether that imagination to the task at hand, especially with subjects he doesn't find immediately engaging." There it was. The but. I nodded slowly. "Yes, I've noticed. We have. Discussions about homework sometimes. Getting him to focus on his maths, for instance, can be a bit of a challenge if there isn't a dinosaur involved somehow." Daniel laughed. "I've discovered that too. We had a whole lesson on fractions last week using dinosaur lengths. He was top of the class. I couldn't help but smile. That sounds like you. You understand him." Daniel's gaze was direct and surprisingly gentle. "I try to, Carol. That's why I wanted to visit. Not because there's a problem, not really. But because I think Leo is one of those children who, with the right kind of encouragement, could really flourish in remarkable ways. And I believe that encouragement starts here, at home with you." His words were so unexpected. Not a criticism, but an invitation, almost. He wasn't here to tell me what I was doing wrong, but to talk about how we could, together, help Leo shine. I felt a knot I hadn't even fully realized I was carrying begin to loosen just a little. Maybe this visit wouldn't be an ordeal after all. Maybe, just maybe, it would be something else entirely. The rain had started, a soft patter against the window panes, making the little living room feel even cozier. Daniel took another biscuit. "These really are very good," he said, and I found myself beaming a little. We talked about Leo for a while longer, his friendships, his shyness in large groups, his surprising knowledge of prehistoric creatures. Daniel didn't just talk, he listened. He asked thoughtful questions, not just about Leo's schoolwork, but about Leo as a person. He wanted to know what made him tick, what his worries were, what made his eyes light up. It was clear he genuinely cared, not just as a teacher doing his job, but as someone who saw something special in my grandson. And as he spoke, I found myself opening up too, sharing little anecdotes about Leo, the funny things he said, the moments he made my heart swell with pride. Then the conversation shifted, almost without us noticing. Perhaps it was the relaxed atmosphere, the rain drumming softly outside, or just the easy way Daniel had about him. He'd mentioned his own grandmother, and I found myself asking about her. "She was a wonderful woman," he said, his eyes taking on a distant, fond look. "A storyteller. She could weave magic with words. I think that's where my love for stories came from, and probably why I ended up teaching English." He smiled. "She raised me for a good part of my childhood. My parents were busy." There was a slight hesitation there, a hint of something deeper, but he didn't elaborate, and I didn't push. But it was a little glimpse, a shared thread. He understood, perhaps, some of the complexities of families that weren't quite textbook perfect. I found myself telling him about Michael, my late husband, about how much he would have loved Leo, about how different it was, raising a grandchild compared to raising my own daughter. The energy levels, for one thing, I joked, but also the weight of responsibility, the feeling of wanting so desperately to get it right for this little boy who'd already had his share of upheaval. "It's a different kind of love, isn't it?" Daniel said softly, his gaze thoughtful. "A fierce, protective love, but also one that comes with a certain wisdom, perhaps, that you didn't have the first time around." His words resonated deeply. Wisdom. I wasn't always sure I felt wise. Most days I felt like I was just winging it, held together by caffeine and love. But the way he said it, it sounded like a compliment, a recognition. We talked about books. He was an English teacher, after all. He noticed the overflowing bookcases in the corner. "You're a reader," he observed. "Always," I confirmed. "It's been my escape, my comfort, my adventure, ever since I was a little girl." We discovered a shared love for certain authors, certain kinds of stories. He recommended a few new ones he thought I might enjoy, and I found myself jotting them down on the back of an envelope, feeling a spark of an old enthusiasm I hadn't realized had dimmed a little. It was so easy talking to him. The initial nervousness had completely vanished, replaced by a comfortable camaraderie, a sense of being truly seen and heard. It was as if a quiet understanding flowed between us, unspoken but palpable. He wasn't just Leo's teacher anymore. He was Daniel, a kind man, a thoughtful man, who seemed to understand more than he said. The clock on the mantelpiece ticked on, almost unnoticed. The plate of shortbread was significantly depleted, and outside, the rain continued to fall, a gentle curtain around our unexpected conversation. The light outside was beginning to fade, the gray afternoon dimming into an early twilight, when Daniel finally glanced at his watch. "Goodness," he said, a look of genuine surprise on his face. Look at the time. I hadn't realized it had gotten so late. I should let you get on with your evening. There was a moment, a fleeting instant, where I felt a pang of disappointment that our conversation was drawing to a close. It had been so long since I'd talked to someone, really talked, like this. So long since I'd felt that easy flow of understanding with another adult. "Oh my," I said, looking at the clock myself. "You're right. It has flown by." He stood up, and I followed suit. "Thank you again, Carol," he said, his expression warm and sincere. "For the tea, the wonderful biscuits, and for the conversation. It's been incredibly helpful and truly a pleasure." "The pleasure was all mine, Daniel," I replied, and I meant it with all my heart. "Thank you for being so understanding about Leo, and for caring so much." He smiled, that kind, crinkly-eyed smile. "Leo's a special kid. It's easy to care about him." He picked up his satchel. "And please, don't worry too much about the focus issues. We'll work on it together. The fact that he has you, someone so dedicated and loving, makes all the difference in the world." His words were like a balm to my soul. All those little anxieties I carried about whether I was doing enough, whether I was good enough for Leo, they seemed to quieten in the face of his genuine reassurance. We walked to the door, the earlier formality now replaced with a comfortable ease. "I'll walk you to your car," I offered. "No need, Carol, it's just there. And the rain has almost stopped." He paused on the doorstep, turning back to me. "I usually send a follow-up email after these visits," he said. "But perhaps, if you're amenable, we could just have a quick chat now and then? About Leo, or even about those books I recommended." My heart gave a little flutter. It was such a simple suggestion, professional yet personal. "I'd like that very much, Daniel," I said, a genuine warmth spreading through me. "It would be lovely to keep in touch." "Excellent," he said, his smile widening. "Well, have a good evening, Carol." "You too, Daniel. Drive safely." He gave a little wave and walked down the path to his car. I stood in the doorway, watching as he got in, started the engine, and pulled away from the curb, his headlights cutting through the damp twilight. Only when his car disappeared around the corner did I finally close the door. I leaned against it for a moment, a soft sigh escaping my lips. The house felt quiet, but it wasn't an empty quiet. It was a stillness filled with the lingering warmth of our conversation, the echo of his kind words. My grandson's teacher came to visit, and what happened? Something I truly hadn't expected. I anticipated a discussion about Leo's school performance, perhaps some gentle criticisms, some advice on how to manage his vibrant imagination. Instead, I'd found a connection, a genuine, human connection with a man who wasn't just a teacher, but a truly decent and insightful person. I walked back into the living room. The mugs sat on the coffee table, the plate with just 2 shortbread biscuits left. It looked cozy, lived in. I picked up the envelope with the book titles he'd written down. A new author to explore, a new perspective. I felt a lightness I hadn't felt in ages. It wasn't just about Leo, though the reassurance about him was a huge weight off my shoulders. It was more than that. It was the feeling of being understood, of being seen not just as Leo's grandmother, but as Carol, a person with her own thoughts, her own history, her own quiet life. Daniel had, in his gentle way, reminded me of that part of myself. He talked to me, not at me. He'd listened. In the space of a couple of hours, a simple home visit had transformed into something much more profound. It was an unexpected gift, this feeling of warmth and acknowledgement. I thought about his offer to keep in touch, not just as a formality, but as a continued conversation. And I found myself smiling. Yes, I thought, that would be nice. That would be very nice indeed. I went to check on Leo, who was, as suspected, deeply engrossed in a book about space, his earlier Lego creation now a moon base. He looked up as I came in. "Is Mr. Evans gone?" he asked. "Yes, sweetheart, he's gone." "Was I in trouble?" he asked, a slight worry in his eyes. I sat on the edge of his bed and smoothed his hair. "Nope, darling, not at all. Mr. Evans thinks you're pretty special." Leo beamed. "He's a good teacher," he declared, and I thought, yes, he is. He really is. But more than that, he was a good man. And his visit had, in its quiet, unassuming way, brought a little bit of unexpected sunshine into my ordinary afternoon, a sunshine that felt like it might linger for quite a while. It was a surprising turn of events, the kind you don't see coming, but the kind that leaves you feeling a little bit richer, a little bit more connected to the world. And you know what? It was wonderful.